वसअत और ज़्यादा उसको फ़रोग़ दिया जा सकता है. High Commissioner, thank you very much for joining us in this program.
Thank you very much, Mr. Javed. You are welcome.
Thank you. Our President, Mamnoon Hussain, recently visited Nigeria, and he had meetings with the government officials. He had also had meetings with the entrepreneurs, businessmen of Nigeria, and the Chambers of Commerce members, and a lot of people there. How do you look at this visit? How do you evaluate it? Do you think that Pakistan and Nigeria have become closer, especially in the field of trade and commerce?
Well, thank you very much. First of all, the visit of President Mamnoon Hussain to Nigeria is historic because this is the first time since the establishment of diplomatic relations between Nigeria and Pakistan that a Pakistani president has visited Nigeria. The visit was accompanied by about 70 industrialists in the area, businessmen in the areas of textile, in the areas of pharmaceuticals, agriculture, sports manufacturers, rice millers, fertilizer producers, as well as in the service sectors. The visit could be said was very productive. During the bilateral meetings between the president and the government of Nigeria, several agreements were signed. And these agreements are very strategic. One of the agreements is in the area of industrial cooperation. When we talk about industrial cooperation, we're talking about the establishment of fertilizer factories. We're talking about the establishment of sugar factories, steel industries. We're talking about cooperation to resuscitate the textile industries in Nigeria. We're talking about the development of small-scale industries where Pakistan has a lot of comparative advantage in that regard. We're talking about the production of simple farm implements that Pakistani small-scale industries are producing in Nigeria. So, and going forward is the development within the defense sector. The Nigerian Defense Industries Cooperation was established in the 60s, but Pakistan has an edge today because the Pakistani defense industries
has grown a lot.
Yes, has grown a lot. It has acquired the capabilities. For example,
it's very advanced now.
Very advanced to produce fighter jets like the GF-17 Thunder aircrafts. They are producing trainer aircrafts. The heavy industry in Tigzila is producing main battle tanks, APCs.
Al-Khalid tanks and other Zarar tank and many other products.
Exactly. And in the ordnance factory, Pakistan has been able to achieve the production of all the ammo requirement of the armed forces. And it has also been able to acquire the capabilities to produce all the other logistic requirements of its armed forces. So within the industrial cooperation, we are strategizing. And already some top officials from Nigeria have paid a visit from Minister of Defense to see how the ordnance factory here in Nigeria, in Pakistan, will collaborate with the ordnance defense industries in Nigeria.
Commissioner, you have spoken about the prospects of cooperation in the field of defense. And as you know, you have said that Pakistan is producing a lot of military equipment and hardware, especially the small arms in Pakistan ordnance factories at WA, and also the heavy mechanical complex, heavy industries in Texla. They are producing tanks and other military equipment. So do you think that Nigeria can or will import these items from Pakistan to meet the requirements of the Nigerian army?
Well, as I have said, cooperation, industrial cooperation, we have had a long discussions with the Ministry of Defense Production. In fact, the Minister for Defense Production was among the delegates that went to Nigeria.
Rana Tanveer Hussain.
Yes, he was among the delegation that went to Nigeria, and they had interaction with his counterpart in Nigeria. And I think in the pipeline, they are strategizing towards introducing possibly offsets in defense procurement, which means if Nigeria is going to buy some equipment from Pakistan, possibly some of the components can be produced in the Nigerian Defense Industries Corporation so that they can also acquire some technical skills and expertise and to reposition the Nigerian defense industries. So I think there is a lot of opportunities.
There are a lot of opportunities
in
yes,
that direction.
and prospects.
Yes.
High Commissioner, you told me last time when I interviewed you before the President's visit to Nigeria that Pakistan can establish, the Pakistani industrialists can establish a base in Nigeria for promoting their exports in that region, especially the textile sector, and other entrepreneurs and industrialists can establish their industries in Nigeria and make it a base to promote their exports in that region. What are the prospects now? Do you think that the Pakistani entrepreneurs and investors are ready to do that?
Well, let me just say this, that the President Manoon Hussein announced during a business forum in Lagos that Pakistan will open a commercial office. And I believe the commercial office has been opened now. So far, so good. A lot of companies from Pakistan have already in the process of, yes, commissioning some of their factories in Nigeria. For example, in the pharmaceutical industries, about 5 or 6 companies have already shipped their goods about 6 months ago, and they are putting their factory in Nigeria, but most of them now in Lagos. Again, interests have been expressed for participation in the resuscitation of dormant textile industries in Nigeria. And I think it is undergoing the bureaucratic processes, and very soon we will see some joint cooperation to resuscitate these textile industries, because Nigeria is the gateway to the African market. And the volume of importation of textile materials in Nigeria just in 2014 was around 6 billion. All right, and that
$6 billion.
Yes, and that market is spread within the ECOWAS countries, and the ECOWAS countries, there are about 16 countries in the ECOWAS, and that market is a huge market. Pakistan really do not produce textile for the African market. They produce for the European market, for USA, but they have neglected the African market, and that is where the market is. So interests have been expressed in that direction. The other area is there has been a lot of interest, and I think work has reached advanced stage for some tractor dealers to establish their assembly plants in Nigeria.
Tractor?
Yes, tractor.
In the agriculture sector?
In the agriculture sector,
yes,
and farm implements. Some rice millers have already expressed interest. They want to go into rice farming and rice processing and milling in Nigeria, because Nigeria spends about over $60 billion annually to import rice. But the previous government has tried to put in place a policy that will promote the production of the local rice, but the demand is still very high. And as I have said, Nigeria is the gateway to the African markets. So whatever you produce...
Is Nigeria, right now, currently, is Nigeria importing rice from Pakistan?
Well, at the moment, it is very minimal. And this is why we have been striving to open up the markets between Pakistan and Nigeria.
High Commissioner, the agriculture sector in Nigeria, do you think that it is advanced or it is capable of meeting the requirements, food requirements of the Nigerian people, or they want more investment in that sector, they want more technology to develop the agriculture sector, and Pakistani agriculturists can play a role in that?
Well, let me tell you the good news. The good news is that one of the agreements that was signed was in the area of agriculture, cooperation in the area of agriculture. We know that Pakistan is #7 rice exporter of rice in the world. We know that Pakistan is #5 world exporter of wheat. We know that Pakistan has achieved high-level technology in irrigation, and the agreement covers all these aspects. We know that for stability and prosperity, food security is very critical. Yeah. And we believe that Pakistan has achieved, to a large extent, food security.
Yes, yes.
And we want to share this knowledge with Pakistan. Just last week, I was with the minister,
Mr. Bosan.
Yes, for food and security. We had very fruitful discussions. Already a focal point has been established, and the implementation committee have been selected by the Pakistani Food and Security Ministry. And as soon as we receive this list, we'll communicate to Nigeria, and I believe Nigeria will respond immediately so that the committees can meet and look at the strategies towards boosting food security in both countries. And just to quickly add, just last week again, I was in the Agriculture Research Center.
Pakistan Agriculture Research
Yes.
Center, PARC.
Yes. And what we have seen there, it's an eye-opener, because they have been able now to develop simple technology that can assist tomato farmers to dry their tomatoes, retaining the freshness of the tomato for about 7 months period. And it's a very simple technology using solar energy. We were introduced to this. And the tomato growers in Nigeria, this would be a good news for them, because about 45% of the tomatoes being produced in Nigeria really is just wasted. At times
They get rotten.
They got rotten. And what they do, they use the traditional way is to cut the tomatoes and dry them in the open.
In the sun.
In the sun. And of course,
Now
that's
this
not
new
hygienically.
technology,
Yes,
this
it's
new
not
technology will help them.
Exactly.
Yes.
So the research center here has been able to produce that simple technology, and they are willing to avail this technology to Nigeria. And as soon as the implementation committee meets, these are some of the areas that they will collaborate so that we can achieve food security. We also discuss extensively about yield varieties, soil conditioners, nutrients. Pakistan has capacity to produce fertilizer. The only snag has been access to gas. Fatima Group, for example, were interested in relocating their factory that can produce up to 500,000 metric tons of fertilizer in Nigeria. And that process has been ongoing for the past 8 months. We will try and fast track that. I will also try to meet with Fuji.
Fuji
fertilizer.
Yeah, it's an army.
Yes, and it is amazing that the army in this country has diversified to the extent that they are producing over 200,000 metric tons of fertilizer.
Industrial fields.
Yes.
The army is doing a lot.
Yes, army is doing a lot, and they are earning money to maintain the army. And I think this is a strategy that perhaps is worth sharing. And I believe when the implementation committee meets, we will look at all these strategies to see how we can benefit.
Thank you, High Commissioner. We'll take a short break and then we'll come back and discuss more about these issues. नाज़रीन एक मुख्तसर ब्रेक लेते हैं. ब्रेक से वापसी के बाद हम पाकिस्तान में नाइजीरिया के हाई कमिश्नर से मज़ीद बातचीत करेंगे. पाकिस्तान और नाइजीरिया के ताल्लुकात को फ़रोग़ देने के हवाले से दोनों मुल्कों में तजारत को किस तरह बढ़ाया जा सकता है. हाई कमिश्नर ने हमें बड़ी तफसील से बताया कि क्या क्या इम्कानात हैं. इस पर मज़ीद बात करेंगे. वेलकम बैक। हम बातचीत कर रहे हैं पाकिस्तान में नाइजीरिया के हाई कमिश्नर दाऊदा बिन लादी से। वो बता रहे हैं कि किस तरह पाकिस्तान और नाइजीरिया ज़राअत के शोबे में, दिफा के शोबे में और दूसरे शोबों में, ख़ास तौर पर टेक्सटाइल के शोबा में एक दूसरे से ताउन कर सकते हैं, एक दूसरे के तजर्बात से फ़ायदा उठा सकते हैं। इस पे हमारी बातचीत हो रही है। हाई कमिश्नर, agriculture is a very important sector. You have spoken a lot about it and the prospects of cooperation between Nigeria and Pakistan. What other sectors Pakistan and Nigeria can cooperate so that their commercial ties they grow and increase and expand?
Well, first of all, let's look at what this new government has come in with. This
New government in Nigeria.
New government in Nigeria. And His Excellency Retired General Muhammad Buhari. He has come in with three cardinal objectives. One is in the area of security. Without security, no meaningful development can take place. And he has already embarked on strategies to address the menace of security, yes, that has been
plaguing Nigeria for quite some time.
For the past six years now. The other strategy which has come in is agriculture and youth employment. And in the areas of agriculture is to put in place, I believe, policies that will cause mass participation in the agricultural sector, especially by the teeming unemployed youth in Nigeria. And in that regard, I think a lot of success will be recorded. The other area has to do with the exploitation of our solid minerals. The solid minerals, the exploitation at the present moment contributes not more than 2 or 3% to the GDP. So it is an area which
needs to be exploited to the advantage of
people. Here
people.
In Pakistan, I have seen that cottage industries, small-scale industries have been able to develop simple technologies like crushing machines for stone, like polishing machines for granites and marbles, and Nigeria has that in abundant quantity.
Marble?
Yes, and granite stone. The granite stone we have is the finest in the world, actually. And this simple technology, simple equipments, I believe going forward this government will lay emphasis on the promotion of small-scale industries development. Now, trade and investment will be boosted because already, as I have said, we have these agreements, industrial cooperation, agriculture, and we have also an agreement in the area of culture and tourism, which will enhance more people-to-people contact. And in that regard, it will expose the vast potentials that exist between the two countries in many areas. And that will create a lot of opportunities for the business community. And let me just quickly add, an agreement has been signed between the two apex chambers of commerce, the Federation of Chambers of Commerce of Pakistan and the Nigerian Chambers of Commerce, to establish a joint Nigeria-Pakistan Chambers of Commerce. And we are fast-tracking that.
That's a great step.
Yes.
High Commissioner, you have spoken about the issue of security in Nigeria. Of course, it's an issue, it's a basic concern for any government in Nigeria. Pakistan is also suffering that kind of problem here. But it looks that Nigerian problem of security is slipping out of hand. You think that the new government in Nigeria will be able to address it effectively, as you have rightly said, that without peace and security, there cannot be economic development, there cannot be foreign or domestic investment, and the economy will remain in shambles unless peace and security is achieved.
Well, let me just again refer you back to the inaugural speech of President Muhammad Buhari. In his inaugural speech, he called for regional cooperation. Regional cooperation, what that means is to collaborate with our immediate
Neighboring
neighbors
countries.
so that the militants do not find sanctuary in our neighboring countries. That is one. Two, he has directed, and this is for the first time, the relocation of the command and control of the defense headquarters to Maiduguri, the heartbeat of the insurgency, where the insurgencies are creating, yes, in the northeast. So it shows the great emphasis which this government is trying to place on the fight against terrorism. And as you know, terrorism has assumed a global dimension. You may recall that in the past, Boko Haram even pledged allegiance to ISIS, and ISIS,
and ISIS,
yes, and you know that ISIS has a huge war chest as a result of the oil fields in Syria. You are talking about almost $2 billion in their coffers, and therefore it is a situation that requires global approach. And during the just concluded G7 meeting, which took place this month, President Buhari was invited, and I believe one of the issues on the agenda of the G7 was to look at the menace of terrorism holistically,
exactly,
and to look at the problems of Boko Haram in Nigeria, again, the attendant problems of rehabilitating the internally displaced persons, the ravage and the dilapidation cost as a result of the fight with the insurgency requires huge capital base to...
Ambassador, Boko Haram is being financed or sponsored by militants outside Nigeria. I mean, you have mentioned IS and Daesh and Al-Qaeda also. Are they supporting this Boko Haram in a big way so that it is creating a security issue and security problem in Nigeria?
Well, as I have said, terrorism has become transnational, so you cannot rule out that possibility. What is required actually is the strategy that has been adopted. One, boots on the ground, and the second thing is the comprehensive intelligentsia to monitor and to effectively, decisively collaborate with the boots on the ground so that the menace is stamped out.
The other dimension is that this terrorism and militancy and extremism can be fought and combated through intellectual movement. I mean, convincing people that this philosophy of extremism is not acceptable to general population, Muslim population anywhere. And there's a great anger against this philosophy of violence, killing people, and imposing a kind of religious philosophy on people through force.
Well, I agree with you, and that is why I also agree with the suggestion in this region, some 1 or 2 years back, that there should be an all ulama international conference where they can issue what is called fatwa, all right, against extremism, because no religion in the world preaches violence. And in the case of the Quran, states clearly that if you kill one person, it's like you have killed the entire human
humanity,
race.
yes.
And if you have saved one, it's like you have saved the entire human race. So this misconstrued ideology, I think, is being propagated by some misguided elements who are pursuing a different kind of agenda, selfish agenda. It is totally not Islam. totally un-Islamic. And we believe that collectively, if we support our governments, we will root out the menace of terrorism. The other aspect to look at is the curriculum in our Islamic schools.
Madaris.
Yes, I think there's a need also to closely look at the curriculum to see that this curriculum does not in any way radicalize our young ones that are coming up, but gives them a proper perspective of what Islam is all about. And I think this required the intellectuals within the Muslim
come
Ummah
forward and
to
tell
come forward and to advocate, to be agents of change in our Islamic schools, and in fact, not only Islamic schools, in the general teachings in the mosques.
High Commissioner, do you believe this theory that the Western powers are promoting this agenda of violence and extremism and factional fights and sectarianism in the Islamic countries particularly, so that the Islamic world remains fractured, remains engaged in their own internal turmoil and chaos, and they are not able to turn their attention towards the West, because the West thinks that unfortunately that's the thinking that Islam and Muslims are becoming a threat, a security threat to the entire to the entire Western world.
Well, the laws of retributive justice are there. He who brings trouble would always get troubled. I do not think the West has been insulated from the menace of terrorism. If you look at what has happened over the past few years and what is still going on in some of the Western countries, they too are affected. But whether they are behind what is happening in the Islamic world, I think that is a question for the international community to answer. I believe that every society, every country, every sovereign country has a right to take decisions, and every sovereign country has the right to protect its citizens. And if you look at times, some of these problems are political problems, internal political problems that do create some of these problems. But I believe that there are regional bodies, all right, within the developing world that can look at these issues and address it squarely. But I do not think it is expedient, really, to put the blame on somebody else's shoulders, because we all have responsibilities, and we have
stock
all
of
been
our
given
own
the
situation.
exactly to deal with our situations.
Thank you, Ambassador. High Commissioner, we'll take another short break and we'll come back for more discussion. नाज़रीन, एक मुख्तसर ब्रेक लेते हैं. ब्रेक से वापसी के बाद हम फिर इसी मौजू पे गुफ्तगू जारी रखेंगे. इस्लामी दुनिया को दरपेश जो चैलेंजेस हैं मिलिटेंसी के, अस्करियत पसंदी के, इंतज़ाम पसंदी के, उनसे नाइजीरिया भी मुतासर है, पाकिस्तान भी मुतासर है. इनसे किस तरह निपटा जा सकता है. वेलकम बैक. हमारी गुफ्तगू हो रही है पाकिस्तान में नाइजीरिया के हाई कमिश्नर से. Yes, High Commissioner, we were talking about this militancy and extremism and terrorism, which is affecting and impacting almost the entire Islamic world. And as you have rightly said, that is a trans-border, transnational problem. What else the world could do? I mean, one of the arguments is that by promoting job opportunities, by creating a conducive economic atmosphere, and by giving education to young people, we can ward off the threat of extremism and terrorism. What is your comment on this?
Yeah, I think I agree with you entirely, because an idle mind is the devil's workshop. And if our young men can actively be engaged in productive activities, then of course they will not provide the fertile grounds to be recruited by the militants. The other aspect has to do with the curriculum, as I've said. In our schools, both Islamic schools and even in our secondary schools, there is the need to come out with a de-radicalization curriculum that will continue to imbibe in our youth the basic ethics of and the sanctity of human life. The other aspect that I would also suggest here is dialogue and amnesty. Perhaps, for example, in Nigeria, the Niger Delta militants, of course, that is not a religious militancy, it is a resource control militancy, but they have been, they were a big problem to the oil industry in the Niger Delta. And of course, the then government came out with an amnesty program, and which the present government also promised to embark on massive development of the Niger Delta area so that people can truly be engaged. And of course, it has reduced almost to zero level militancy in the Niger Delta.
In that region.
Exactly. So likewise, if a comprehensive approach can be taken through the use of dialogue, through the use of repentant militants that have seen the lights and have said, look, enough is enough, and amnesty could be extended. Perhaps these militants will be able to lay down their arms and come on the table to hold discussions. We have seen some progress with the High Peace Council in Afghanistan. As a non-permanent ambassador of Nigeria to Afghanistan, I've been there 3 or 4 times, and I've seen the High Peace Council that is populated by former Taliban leaders who have embraced peace and who are working with the government to sensitize the hardliners on the need to lay down their arms.
The new government in Nigeria,
yes,
is now functioning there. And yes, you have said that the #1 item of agenda before the new government is to address the issue of militancy
yes,
and extremism.
yes.
What else, what other steps this government is contemplating or thinking about to get rid of extremism, militancy in Nigeria, so that Nigeria could progress without any hindrance and without the menace of terrorism?
Yeah, based on the pronouncements of the new president, there is going to be massive development of the Northeast region. All right? There is going to be concentration in the area of agriculture to make sure that people are employed. Dormant industries will be resuscitated. The issue of energy, which is critical to development of small-scale industries, will also be given attention. I believe with this comprehensive approach, the issue of Boko Haram will be history very soon in Nigeria.
Yeah, it's a great news. The other issue is the oil and gas in Nigeria. Nigeria is producing oil a lot in big quantity. Do you think that this oil can go into the hands of these militants and extremists so that they could misuse it, or the wealth that comes in their hands through the oil sales, they will be using this to promote their nefarious designs and agenda?
Never. Let me just say this. You see, Nigeria, we are 36 states. We have 36 states plus the federal capital. And we have 774 local government areas. These militants have only been operating in 14 local government areas in the extreme northeast, far away from the Niger Delta where the oil is being produced. And this problem initially was was underrated. That is why it snowballed into the present menace it has become. Nobody thought that the Boko Haram menace was going to expand and to achieve the particular dimension that it has achieved now. But right now, government has even chased them out of the 14 local government areas they are on the run. And the new president has just visited Niger Republic, our neighbor, and Chad Republic. And these are the two countries, sanctuary, yes, that at times they run to. Of course, they have even carried out attacks on these two countries. And collectively, regionally, we have already set up a multinational task force. It is headed by a Nigerian. And the multinational task force will be based in Chad. And we believe with this regional cooperation, with this approach, the menace of terrorism will be contained.
But these neighbors
Yes.
who have been providing sanctuaries, or these militants have been trying to find sanctuaries in these countries, are they cooperating with you? In
Yes, they are cooperating with us. They are cooperating with us. They have contributed troops. All right, about almost 4 countries now have contributed troops, and the headquarters is in one of our neighbors, Chad Republic, although it is headed by a Nigerian. They are cooperating because Boko Haram gradually was becoming a menace to them also. They have carried out several attacks, and some people have lost their lives, and properties worth millions have also been destroyed. So they are collaborating with us, and they are cooperating with us to make sure that we have that robust regional approach. And of course, the other multiplier effect that will douse the tension completely is the massive agricultural development that will take place in that area, rehabilitation of the internally displaced persons.
You have mentioned, yes, you are very right, that these religious schools or seminaries, they are very important because
very
they create a certain mindset which becomes operative, and which is providing a very conducive atmosphere to promote extremism and terrorism. How to de-radicalize these religious schools or seminaries, and to de-radicalize the syllabus that is being taught in these schools? What is being done in Nigeria in concrete terms?
Well, at the moment, the new government has just come in, but I believe that best practices in this regard would be adopted and applied. We have seen the steps that Pakistan has taken to look at the curriculum in the madrasas, in the Islamic schools, and we believe that that would also be one of the steps that this new government would look at. And I believe that this new government will also mobilize the locals, opinion leaders in the society, the ulamas in the society, towards giving a de-radicalized fatwa to the populace. And this would be part of the comprehensive approach, I believe, that the government would put in place to address the menace of Boko Haram.
Back to Pakistan-Nigeria cooperation. There was a time when a lot of teachers from Pakistan would go to Nigeria to impart education to Nigerian brothers. Why this practice halted? And do you think that the prospects are there that Pakistani teachers and instructors can go there and teach as they used to in the past?
Yeah, well, one thing you should know is that Nigeria also belongs to the D8 country. And the D8 countries, one of their objectives is the promotion of scientific education. And as you know, COMSAT, which is based here in Pakistan, is one of the science institutions that is providing science education mostly to the members. And at the moment, we have 8 Nigerians in COMSAT that have been given scholarship. They are studying masters in mathematics, and one is doing PhD. I have visited them, and they are doing very good. So going forward, I can see us, we are also looking at the agreement in the area of education. And as soon as that agreement is signed, of course, there will be renewed educational exchange programs and visits. Already, a university in Lahore, private university in Lahore, has offered scholarship to Nigerians. I was at the graduate ceremony just about a month ago in Lahore, and a lot of Nigerians will be coming to study in Lahore. Similarly, the University of Agriculture in Faisalabad, we are also talking and we have reached advanced stage. Let me just quickly say this. During the visit to one of the states, they requested for about 50 teachers and 50 doctors, and which we have written to the overseas foundation, and they are working at that. And again, if I may just add this quickly, about 800 Pakistanis are being recruited by a Chinese company that is doing one of the giant hydropower plant in Nigeria. The recruitment is ongoing, and these 80 Pakistanis, as soon as they are screened, will also be joining about 2,000 Nigerians that have been employed by that Chinese company to work in Nigeria. So I think the opportunities
the cooperation is expanding.
Yes,
thank you, High Commissioner. Thank you very much. नाज़रीन, आज इस प्रोग्राम में आपने पाकिस्तान में नाइजीरिया के हाई कमिश्नर से गुफ्तगू सुनी उनकी, और इस प्रोग्राम में उन्होंने पाकिस्तान और नाइजीरिया के दरमियान ताल्लुकात को बेहतर बनाने, ख़ास तौर पर सनत और तजारत के शोबे में ताल्लुकात को वसअत देने के बारे में तफसीली गुफ्तगू की है। उन्होंने पाकिस्तान के सदर जनाब ममनून हुसैन के दौरा नाइजीरिया में जिन नए शोबों में दोनों मुल्कों में ताल्लुकात को बेहतर बनाने पर गुफ्तगू हुई, उस पर बात की है। और उन्होंने दहशत गर्दी, इंतहा पसंदी और अस्करियत पसंदी का जो एक मसला नाइजीरिया को इस वक्त दरपेश है और पाकिस्तान को भी इसी किस्म का एक मसला दरपेश है, उस पर बात की है कि किस तरह नाइजीरिया की नई हुकूमत रेडिकलिज़म, इंतहा पसंदी और दहशत गर्दी को ख़त्म करने के लिए कोशिशें कर रही है, और उनके नए एजेंडे में सर फहरिस्त जो आइटम है वो है दहशत गर्दी को ख़त्म करना और नाइजीरिया में अमन और सिक्योरिटी को बहाल करना है, ताकि नाइजीरिया में अमन और तरक्की आ सके। उनका कहना है कि पाकिस्तान और नाइजीरिया के दरमियान ताल्लुकात को वसअत देने के लिए बहुत इम्कानात हैं। कोलैबोरेशन के ज़रिए और बाहमी ताउन के ज़रिए दोनों ममालिक के ताजर, सनतकार और सरमायाकार तवील और बड़ा इम्पॉर्टेंट रोल प्ले कर सकते हैं इस ज़मन में। इसी के साथ ये प्रोग्राम ख़त्म होता है। जावेद सिद्दीक़ को इजाज़त दीजिए। खुदा हाफ़िज़। Thank you very much, High Commissioner. It's a pleasure talking to you.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Very kind of you.
I'm looking forward to see you again.